So what we're going to walk through today is the marker placement for the total ankle project that we're processing the data for. This was a project I did way too long ago to count. The marker set is slightly different than what is used traditionally now in the Granata lab. Mainly the difference is that we don't use the shells. But I want to walk through the placement just so everybody's clear on where these go in case we ever have to recreate this again. It's also the marker set that was used for the Healthy Older Adult Walking project. So we'll start again from the bottom and we'll work up to the pelvis. This is only a lower extremity set. There is one offset marker that is placed on the upper back. That was more historical than anything for the software that we were using. It used that offset marker to tell the left versus the right side. All right, so we'll start down at the feet, and what we're going to do is place first and fifth metatarsal head. Again, what you want to do is feel for the ball of the first metatarsal. If you're having trouble finding it, simply ask the person to kind of lift their toe up towards the top. You'll see where it bends. That's where you want to place the marker. And again, go ahead and relax your foot. It's a little harder to have them do that with the fifth, but you can generally see it. It sort of sticks out. It should sit on a diagonal across the foot. This is used as we calculate the longitudinal axis of the foot. And so what the software will do is it'll draw a line between the midpoint of these two markers. All right, we'll place a medial and lateral malleolar marker. You're going at the most prominent point on both of those bones. And I'll do the exact same thing on the other foot, and then I'll walk through how we do marker placement on the heel. Perfect. Go ahead and rotate and face that wall for me. All right, so when you're placing the markers on without a shoe, what you're looking for is the location of the Achilles tendon as it comes down into the foot. And so you can see here's where the Achilles tendon comes, and then it begins to widen out as you get down into the calcaneus. You want to make sure when you're placing these markers that you're not putting it on the middle of the Achilles tendon. You want to make sure you're down here actually on the bone of the calcaneus. And so you do want to line this up independent of where the Achilles tendon is with where their calcaneus is. So you want to go in the center of it, and you want your markers as far apart as you can get them. But you don't want them so low that when they walk, they kick off the bottom one, the inferior one. Go ahead and face straight ahead for me. The other thing you want to make sure they're doing is looking straight ahead, because as he rotates, it's going to change the position of the markers on the heel. And then the third one just goes again out here on the lateral side. It doesn't really matter where that one is, as long as it's out of the plane from these two. Same thing on the other side. You want to find the center, again, below the level of the Achilles tendon. And then you want to place, again, as far apart as you can, but making sure that they can still heel strike if that's how they walk. And then on the lateral side. And before, I forgot to place your medial and lateral ankle markers, so do that at the same time. The order that you place the markers really doesn't make a whole lot of difference as long as they all get on. I tend to go from the bottom up just so I make sure I don't forget anything. All right, Adam, if you would face straight ahead for me. Towards the television. So traditionally we place a shell now. We're not going to place a shell for this study. We used a much simpler marker set where we were just placing a single marker on the thigh and on the shank. It's more important in this placement that you get this shank marker directly in line with the knee and with the ankle. So if you're not really sure where this knee marker goes, place it first. So go ahead and have them bend forward. And what you're looking for, again, is that you're looking for the joint space, where it kind of opens up. With guys, you do often have to have them bend a little farther forward. I'm not sure you can see this, but you can feel when you're feeling somebody's knee, the IT band will come down and cross right across the front, or right across the joint space, and then it'll wrap under the knee. And so what I'm having to do is bend far enough that that moves back so I can actually feel where his joint space opens. Good. The marker will inevitably go almost right over top of that IT band, and that's okay. We want it to line up a little, as much as we can here. He does have a little rotation, which is, again, not unheard of. Because I'm not placing the shells, I often will do this whole lateral side first so that I can make sure it's lined up, and then I'll put the thigh and the shank markers on, and then I'll go back in and do the medial ones, which is a little different than how we place for some of the other stuff. So either stick your foot forward and rotate for me, okay, or if you'll put your foot right back here, I want you to rock side to side like you're sticking your hip out. What I'm feeling for is the point where that greater troch kind of sticks out, or when he's rotating on his heel, where it rotates when his heel moves. And again, you want to be kind of right in the center, line all three of these up, and then it's easier to come back and then do the other ones. Now, the thing to remember about the thigh and the shank, you want these directly in line because you're creating the long axis of the bones. The markers that you're placing now have to be out of the plane of these two so that we can understand what's going on with rotation. So you have some choices you can make here. For the ankle set, we place them on the front. And so what I do is I feel for the ridge of the tibia. So the bone, you should be able to feel it as you run your hand down. There's very little musculature there. Sorry, you might lose a little hair when we pull these off. You want it sort of right on the front of the shank. And then the same thing on the thigh. Again, you don't want to go up so high that you're in the muscle belly, but somewhere in the front. Again, you want to be out of the plane, but you want to minimize the amount of marker motion that you're going to get. All right, actually, I'll come around to the other side. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side. We'll feel for the knee marker. Okay, good. You're good. Hold on. Stand straight back up for me. That is next, but I got to place this one first. Go ahead and do greater troch. Perfect. Go ahead and stand back up. Okay. Same thing, we're going to feel for the front of the tibia. Make sure you're just somewhere along the bone. Again, distance, superior and inferior doesn't matter terrible. It's not too big of a deal here in the shank. There's just not a lot of muscle. And then we'll place one there on the thigh. All right, so that's the lower leg and then most of the thigh. We've got a few to place on the pelvis, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, we'll start with finding iliac crest, which again, I usually ask if they're ticklish. We've done this before, so I know it's not bad. So what we're going to do is kind of create this ridge on the iliac crest. We know where it is. We can place markers here and here, which is your iliac crest. Again, order doesn't really matter. And then I usually go ahead and feel, sorry, I'm going to have to slide that one down. Feel for the L4, L5 marker. Again, place your hands kind of on the ridge of the iliac crest. Put your thumbs together in the back. That's going to be L4, L5. Right in the center, again, right along the spine. With guys, usually, again, either a tight shirt or if they're comfortable, we have them go without a shirt on, just so we can get right on the skin. And then you're going to find PSIS. Again, what you're feeling for is a divot. You're feeling for kind of an indent in the lower back. It should form a triangle with your L4, L5 marker. If you can't find it easily, have them bend forward like they're going to touch their toes. It will pop out. Go ahead and stand back up. You will want to recheck that L4, L5 marker after they do that, just to make sure it didn't slide, because that's not a movement we typically have them do. And so you can see that his did slide up just a tad, which he's going to love. Going to take that off and move it back down so it's right there between. Okay. Once you've captured the data, you don't want to move that marker, but here before we've started, it's okay to reposition them to get it to fit. And then, just because I'm already back here, I stick on the offset marker. Again, it's just a marker somewhere on the right scapula. It just tells us the right side of the body from the left. It doesn't have a specific position, just as long as it's up there on the right side. Not terribly important for the new Qualis system that we use, but for Cortex, it helped it know left versus right. Go ahead and face me. We're going to do ASIS now. So what you're going to do is, again, start where your iliac crest is. You're going to feel down, find the most prominent spot. For him, that's right about there. I'm going to place the marker. Again, depending on the person, you may have to feel around, but if you find the iliac crest, you should be able to follow it down right to where the ASIS marker is. So that is the lower extremity set that we use. Again, if we're testing, we will typically have somebody in a tight-fitting shirt or without a shirt on, just to make it more comfortable for them, so that they don't have to worry about the shirt falling down and covering up markers. And if he faces back forward, you'll notice that, and I didn't when I was placing this, but has a little bit of a leg length difference. One is higher than the other, and I checked it 3 times, so I'm pretty sure that's where it is. You will want to check that. If you start to see that there's a difference between one side and the other and it's consistent, it generally means that you've got just a leg length difference, and it may be either functional or real. As long as you're on the landmark, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure you're on the landmark.